One step forward and another back.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So to start off this pink holiday for Valentine's Day look, we're going to be priming the eyes and carving out the baseline of the brows like always. I am taking my MAC Select Cover Up in NC20 and applying this all over her eyelid with a MAC 252 brush and really patting it down, taking it from the inner corner all the way to the outer V and top of her cheekbone for a nice even coverage and very opaque. So to start off this look, we're actually going to be starting off with the deepest pink. I am using the Morphe 35B palette, which has all those beautiful bold colors, and we're taking the matte magenta shade in that palette, and I am using this on a Morphe M507 brush. It is a very teeny tiny brush, and I know it's a little scary to work with the darkest color first, but that is the best way to blend out this shade. I've learned that with that palette, you have to work in reverse order in order to get a nice blend. Otherwise, this pigment will not adhere to the eyelid as nicely and opaque if we go from lightest to darkest. Next, I'm going to be taking a lighter shade of a matte pink and using a Morphe, what brush is this? This is the Morphe R30 brush, and I'm just going to be lightly going over the edges in light circular motions to help blend out that magenta shade with the lighter pink that we are using. I'm using all the pinks in the Morphe 35B palette, so in case you have it, you know which ones I'm talking about. I'm slowly going to be just kind of winging out that shadow, so when we cut the crease, we have some shadow to work with at the tail end of her eyelid. And it's really just going to be going back and forth, and you'll start to gradually see that the magenta shade will be blended out more evenly. And if you feel like you're starting to lose a little bit of punch, that's where you can go back in and kind of add a little bit more. It's kind of like a see how it goes type of deal, if you know what I mean. So I kind of go back and forth between the two colors to help keep the intensity but yet keep the blended look. I'm then taking a small Luxie blending brush and a very light matte pink from that palette and just going over the outermost edges and really blowing it out. The pink is so light that it's not going to be super dark on the brow bone or the inner socket of the eye, but it is going to help create that nice soft blown out look for the other pink that we had been previously using. Now to cut out the crease, you guys have seen me do this a lot. I'm using my MAC 252 brush and more Select Cover Up, and I'm going to be pressing over and inching my way across the crease. And when cutting out the crease, remember you do want to make sure that you are going just a little bit above the natural fold of your eye, because if you don't, it's going to just transfer the shadow, and you still want to have that cut crease appearance when your eye is open. Once the crease is cut, I am taking some NYX white gel liner to just help really brighten up that inner part of the cut crease, because we're going to be pressing on some pearlescent pink eyeshadow, and I really want it to pop and not be dirtied by the hot pink that we used underneath. I'm then picking up with that same MAC 252 brush, that pearlescent pink shadow, and just pressing it on to the beginning 1/3 of her eyelid and just kind of building it up until I get a nice opaque look. You're going to see later that the gel liner hadn't dried completely and it's going to transfer a little bit, but we're going to fix that towards the end of the eye look. I'm then going to be using some glitter for this look, and to do that I love using the NYX glitter primer. It's a very thick glitter adhesive, which I like for this type of glitter application. If you're using more of like a liner type of glitter, like you want to do fine detailed work, I would suggest using maybe a liquid glitter adhesive. Once I apply the adhesive all over the lid, I am taking this pink glitter from Jcat makeup. I don't have the name anymore because I took off the label that was letting the cap stick on, so I wish they would put the name like actually printed on the label or on the packaging, but I don't have it anymore. But it's a light pink, and it kind of has like pearlescent pieces of glitter in there as well as the light baby pinks. To prime the face, I'm going to be using the new Milk Makeup Illuminating Blur Stick, and this helps blur fine lines and also primes the skin, but at the same time this new blur stick has an illuminating factor in it, so it has a little bit of a shine to the skin without sacrificing the mattifying effect. Once that's applied evenly all over her skin, I'm going to be taking the Milani Conceal and Perfect Foundation in shade 03. And you know me, I like to pump out the product and then use a flat foundation brush to apply it all over the face, so I know I'm getting the most use out of all the product that I dispensed and not wasting anything. I'm then going to be blending this into her skin using tapping motions with a damp beauty sponge. This is the Real Techniques Beauty Blender. I absolutely love Real Techniques sponges. I am going to be trying out a new one really soon, so hopefully that one is a better bang for your buck for those of you fellow makeup artists out there. For highlighting and concealing, I am using the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer, which is one of my favorite drugstore concealers. It is so good. I'm using the shade Fair on her to even out her skin tone. As you can tell, she has a bit of an olive undertone, but yet she is not very deep in color. So the Milani foundation was a pretty close match, but in order to get that perfect tone match, I'm going to be just evening out by brightening up the center of her face with this concealer. And then again, using that same damp beauty sponge to press this into her skin, into her foundation, and lightly tapping, really utilizing the very tip of that sponge. If you are working on a client, if you're a fellow makeup artist, you want to be mindful not to be too invasive in the under eye area. I kind of leave that area for last because I don't want to have them looking up for too long and having their eyes get dry and watery. So I kind of blend out everything first, and then I go back in, as you can see here, and get really close to that lower lash line. To set everything, I'm going to be using my RCMA No Color powder, and I'm going to be pressing this into the skin. We are not baking for this look. I am just pressing the powder in and patting until we no longer see any traces of powder. Once that is all set, which I'm using all over the center of her face where we applied the concealer, I'm then going to be taking my NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat Foundation powder on a small little Luxie blending brush. It is the Luxie 512. It's called their small contouring brush. I like to use this brush to apply some foundation powder over their skin to set the rest of the face, but I don't want to sacrifice a non-skin looking look. So that's why I love this NYX foundation powder, because it still lets the skin look like skin. It has a bit of a sheen to it. It doesn't make you oily. It just sets the skin beautifully and makes it look more realistic, kind of like a skin-like texture. I'm then going to be taking a little bit of a highlighting powder from the Tarte Park Avenue Princess Contouring Kit. I'm using the yellow shade from that kit, and I'm using the same brush and in light circular motions, just applying it into the center of her face where we had applied the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer to help brighten it up even more. Then for bronzing, I'm using my hoola bronzer from Benefit in a large powder brush. This is a no-name brush from Sonia Kashuk. It was in one of her sets. And I'm taking this onto her cheeks, kind of spreading it out onto the tops of the apples of her cheeks as well, across the tip of her nose and across the tip of her chin. As always, you guys know I love to do this to give a more realistic, warm, sun-kissed glow. I'm taking very little across her forehead because, as you can tell, my model has a shorter forehead as opposed to a broader forehead, so I don't want to make it look even shorter, but I do want to warm it up just a bit to make it look more like her natural skin. I'm then going to be taking the contouring shade from the Tarte Park Avenue Princess palette, and on a Morphe, this is one of my favorite contouring brushes, on the Morphe M530 brush, I'm going to be just hollowing out the very backs of her cheekbones, and again, just very lightly across her forehead. And then I am doing a pretty strong kind of nose contour here with the Crown C523 brush, just really utilizing the side of that brush to help chisel out the nose. As you can see, I like to kind of tap the product on, and then once I feel like I have enough product, I then blend it out by moving it down the sides of her nose and kind of going back and forth to make it look a little less harsh. For highlight, I'm going to be using the new MAC Hyper Real Glow palette. It is the pink toned one. This is in the shade Rosy Glow. What I like about this palette is that you can choose to have a subtle glow or a very intense glow depending on the tool that you're using. I'm using a very small, dense brush, so I want a very intense highlight. This is the Morphe M524 brush, and as you can see, it gives a really intense highlight. If you wanted a little bit of a less intense highlight, you could use a tapered highlighting brush like the Morphe M501. For blush, I used one of the new Bare Minerals blushes in the color Pink Me Up. To finish off the eyes, I'm going to be taking that deep magenta shade that we used at the very beginning and just smudging it across her lower lash line, and then using the lighter tone pinks to help smoke that out with a pencil brush, and I'm connecting it to the very end tail of the shadow we have on her top lid. I'm then highlighting her inner corner and brow bone with the same highlight shade that we used on her cheekbones. And then I'm going to be adding liner only to the top lid and applying her lashes. And I did not wing out the liner. I kind of wanted to let the wing be the cut crease that we did and not take away from it too much. So here I'm fixing that patch that got a little unstuck from transfer, and I'm using just a loose sheen pearlescent pink pigment. It's also from Jcat makeup. And since we put it on that side, we have to even out the tone so both eyes match, and I'm taking it on the other side as well. And I actually think it made the eyes pop a little bit more, so I'm glad that that actually was added. I'm then just setting her liner with some black matte shadow, and then marrying her falsies with her natural lashes by putting on some mascara and then also coating her bottom lashes. For the lip color, I am using the Colourpop Lumiere 2 liquid lipstick as a lip liner at first, and then I'm going to be using one of their metallic shades in the center. It is the shade Treat Wave. Once I am done with the lips, I just like to go over with the concealer brush to just make sure those edges are really nice and clean. I also just clean up any mascara that may have fallen underneath her eyes while the mascara was still drying. And then I decided to wing out the shadow just a little bit more. And once that is done, this is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you'll be rocking something this colorful on Valentine's Day. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. All links are down below. Bye, guys.